Most health advice leaves you feeling restricted, overwhelmed, and disconnected from joy. As a lifestyle medicine doctor, I see this every day, which is why I wanted to bring in someone who has devoted her life to a system that's been guiding people to live with energy and ease for over 5,000 years. That system is called Ayurveda, India's ancient science of life. And my guest, Dr. Shivani Gupta, is here to take that ancient wisdom and turn it into simple, practical tips that you can start using today. So let's do the show. Dr. Shivani Gupta, I'm so excited to have you here today at the Health Feast. Welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
What is Ayurveda at its core? How do you explain it to someone who's new to it?
For sure. So Ayurveda is an ancient system of health, healing, and medicine from India that's over 5,000 years old. And Ayurveda encompasses a lot. It encompasses a lot around lifestyle medicine, personalized medicine. We have a lot of ways to help prevent and treat the body. But the goal of Ayurveda is to bring body, mind, and spirit into alignment. And so the way that we do that in the 6 pillars that I teach from Ayurveda are, number 1, we teach you your individual body type, your dosha or your constitution based on the elements and the 5 elements out there. And so I love teaching people what their constitution is because then you can customize your own lifestyle plan around that. Then we teach a lot about circadian rhythm. So in the biohacking and wellness space, everyone's throwing around the word circadian. Circadian clock comes from Ayurveda. Ayurveda said we must live in rhythm with nature. And when we go against nature, that's when we cause disharmony and dis-ease. Then Ayurveda teaches a lot about gut and how we have this gut digestive fire. And that gut health is actually the center of all health. It's brain health, it's mood, it's our immunity. And so isn't it cool that a 5,000-year-old science already knew the gut was the center of everything? And so Ayurveda teaches us a lot of gut practices around building a healthier, stronger metabolism and gut health. Then we teach a lot about self-care and building a self-care rhythm and self-care rituals that we can build as a daily rhythm that supports detoxification and keeping a healthier body. Then we do teach detox as its own big protocol, annual or biannual protocol to help clean and clear the body. Ayurveda taught a lot about the lymphatic system and how our body has cleansing systems, but sometimes they get clogged. And so our job is prevent what clogs it, but then also move the system along. And then finally, in Ayurveda, I love teaching about the super spices because herbal remedies, super spices is a big part of what we use with people. And when I fell in love with Ayurveda, I also fell in love with the power of those as superfoods. And I ended up doing my master's in Ayurvedic sciences and my PhD on turmeric, the spice. So where I'm really knowledgeable is turmeric, but I also love teaching that lifestyle because if we win at inflammation and all these root cause issues using lifestyle, then we've won overall. So that's where I come at from Ayurveda.
Wow. There's so much so I practice lifestyle medicine and, it's really the therapeutic use of lifestyle changes to treat, prevent, and reverse chronic disease. And there's so much overlap from what I'm hearing. As you say it, like it's 5,000 years old. When I'm telling people about lifestyle medicine, I say it's a relatively new, except ancient
right
field of medicine because it's new to allopathic Western medicine, right? And one thing about allopathic and Western medicine is to define health as the absence of disease. And if you don't have disease, you're good. I'm curious, how does Ayurveda define health?
Absolutely. So in Ayurveda, like I mentioned, body, mind, and spirit in alignment is such an oversimplification. What Ayurveda is really saying is when all channels in our body are clean and clear, when the gut health is on point, when we're living according to our circadian rhythm, when everything is so healthy at the body level, then we can have ease and we can have peace at the emotional and mental level. And then when we have that complete alignment and health, the gift we get is that alignment. It's joy. It's a higher vibration. I call it vibrant health. But I know for myself, I've solved my health issues again and again over my lifetime. And every time I detox and clear the decks, the level of joy and vibration I have to move forward and make a positive impact on the world is so profound and it's so addictive in a sense. And so my goal is to get everyone so addicted to feeling so good that they want to do the things to maintain that level of health. And so that's really Ayurveda's goal, is let's give you that joyful, it's almost like a rust, like a juice, that byproduct of going to like the best yoga class or the best workout and feeling so good. That level of energy is what Ayurveda is trying to give you, but show you how to maintain it on a daily basis.
Ah, that's beautiful. Vibrant energy. As you were saying it, I was feeling it in my body. And ease, I love that you keep saying the word ease, because we always talk about disease, but that's what people want in their lives. They want to be able to flow through their life as you describe it, you know? And so that is what I think true health is. For people, you ask people, if you ask somebody what health means to them, like you really start to dig into, they'll tell you about their grandkids and the trips they want to take. And they don't tell you about, health for me is not having X. But that's often how we define it. So I love how Ayurveda frames it. And I think it's, again, there's just a lot of alignment in how I practice. You mentioned detox.
Yeah.
That's something I'm not as familiar with, although I do employ for myself and also my patients therapeutic fasting. So I wonder if that kind of falls into the detox realm, but I'm curious if you can elaborate on that.
Absolutely. So in Ayurveda, we like to think of it as whenever anyone comes to us, we're going to try to understand quickly what's going on. How are your bowel movements? How is that gut doing? How is your sleep? How does your skin look? How vibrant are you? Because if there's dullness in the eyes and dullness in the skin, we're going to know, hey, there's a lack of what we call ojas, this vitality, the end product of having great digestion and everything.
Ojas. How do you spell that?
Ojas. O-J-A-S. Ojas.
Ojas.
And so ojas is the byproduct of great Agni, digestive fire, and not having a body full of what we call ama, or these toxins and these toxin residues. So Ayurveda teaches that over time, we're all living modern day lives. We're exposed to water, air, food, pesticides, all the things that may be occurring in our modern day lives. We might not all drink out of metal water bottles. It might be like plastic exposure, which happens to all of us. The accumulation of that in the body is the problem. It kind of gets in the way. And when we call it ama, we're calling it this residue that's inside of us that's accumulating. And so we typically ask for one big detox per year, per patient, and we call that panchakarma. And so I've done panchakarma in India, where it's really intense. You're talking about like 3 weeks of detoxing out of every orifice. Here in the US, I'm not typically going to torture a client like that. I'll say, look, we can detox in many ways. We can do it in a group program for 21 days. If you don't have 21 days, give me 7. And so fasting is actually a very powerful detox method. We can have someone fast for 24, 48, 72 hours. And that can be a really great reset button to hit on the body. And I love that. I've done a 3-day water fast now, and it was profound what it did for my body. I was really impressed. I didn't think I could do it because I was like, who can survive 3 days without food? But if you really plan it right and have the right coach and guidance, I think it's a beautiful tool to use.
And build up to it. And if you build up to it too.
Yeah. If you don't go cold turkey, and I think it's probably better. But yeah, our goal is to show you how to detox on a daily basis, detox on a seasonal basis, and then detox on an annual basis. And during those types of detoxes, you can do things like dry brushing, which is going to move the lymphatic system. We recommend tongue scraping. Tongue scraping is gently scraping the tongue 7 to 14 times in the morning with a copper or steel tongue scraper. We recommend really dropping the inflammatory foods. In Ayurveda, we have a dish called khichdi that we love. And so we give that porridge to people and say, look, just eat this for a couple days. That alone will reset the gut. Our goal is just give the gut a break so it can just heal itself and heal everything else. And then you could move forward.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, khichdi it's so common. It's like everyone eats it, and it's just lentils and rice basically, and spices. Yeah.
So simple. But it's a great way to reset the gut. It's simple and magical in its own way. Simple and effective.
Right. Yeah. Like practically speaking, like, do you work with people and they're in their home and they're doing a certain reset? Like, could you walk us through this 72-hour gut reset?
Yeah. So it just depends on the client or the person in front of me. If this is someone who isn't ready to jump into something as big as a water fast, I'll typically say, look, any detox, you need to ease in and you need to ease out. We don't just jump into things head first. In Ayurveda, we believe that the body is to be treated with respect and honor. And if you're detoxing, you're really asking the body to gently remove what we slowly accumulated. And so if you think of it that way, whether it's a 3-day water fast or a 3-day khichdi fast where you're just going to eat that khichdi porridge 3 days in a row, the week before, you would start to give up inflammatory foods. Let's talk about sugar. So soda, desserts, these kinds of foods that cause those insulin spikes. We talk about alcohol, dairy.
With sugar, are you talking about refined sugar or like all sugar, not
refined
fruits?
Sugar, added sugar, any of the sugars that you can
Not fruit. So fruits would be okay.
Fruit is totally fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dates?
Fruit, vegetables, anything from Mother Earth, we love. Because in Ayurveda, we talk a lot about the sattvic diet. The sattvic diet means kind of like a Mediterranean diet. Eat everything fresh from the earth. Everything in the plant kingdom is totally fine. I usually ask my clients to give up all meat or red meat before a detox because I really want to prepare that gut to have space for healing and not have to digest hard things. Dairy, which is inflammatory to many, not all, but many. So sugar, dairy, alcohol, red meat, gluten. Gluten is my fifth. A lot of times when I take my clients off gluten, it gives the gut a break and then they can restart after. But a lot of them learn that they were not tolerant to gluten in the first place and they just didn't have the awareness.
That's so fascinating to me. I was just talking to a guest recently about this, a gastroenterologist, and I used to be, and he also agreed, we used to be in the camp where we like totally wrote that off, this gluten sensitivity. And now I've seen all sorts of things where the testing is normal, but then I've seen autoimmune conditions improve. And so I can't unsee those. So there's something there that our testing hasn't picked up on yet.
For sure. I have a brother-in-law in town who's a GI and he's always like, please don't do that to yourself. Don't make yourself gluten intolerant. And I look at him and I'm always like, do you think I wanted to give up gluten? Like, I didn't want to give up all bread, all pasta. My body rejects it. It's one of those things. And it's hard. It's not as easy to travel or live a completely gluten-free life. And I'm vegetarian. So gluten-free vegetarian is a horrible combination for travel. But if we honor our body and listen to what the body is really saying to us, then we have to be willing to make those shifts. So I usually cut those foods for everyone, with everyone for about a week. I'm like, cut as much of those as you can. Bring in fresh and good. Let's increase vitality in the body. Let's increase prana. Like prana is the life force that comes from eating fresh foods. And then let's go into that 3-day gut reset, whichever way we're going to do it. And then when you come back in, don't just go out for a big steak meal with red wine. Like ease in. Let's eat clean coming into it. And then really bring awareness to the body and say, okay, when I eat each food after that, what happens? And that is usually the most indicative thing. Like you could eat a food and it makes your lips go numb. That's a sign. Your body's saying something. So just paying attention to those cues has been so illuminating for people.
Yeah. Wow. That's really fascinating. So, okay. So someone potentially does that detox, they ease back in. One thing I want to ask about, which it's like one of those things I kind of know about, but I don't really understand, are the doshas. And I did your dosha quiz.
Okay.
On the website, your website. So everyone, they can go to, is it Dr. Shivani Gupta?
Yes.
.com? Yeah. And you have a dosha quiz. Well, first, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the dosha represents, and then maybe then I'll share mine.
For sure. Okay. So the doshas are based on the 5 elements. And Ayurveda teaches us we're all made from nature. So we're all made of those 5 elements. But we all have different proportions of those elements based on our parents, where we were born, when we were born. And so at the moment of your birth, you have a prakriti. That's your original dosha from birth. Over time, due to life traumas, big changes, life shifts, you could become really imbalanced in your dosha. And so our job as practitioners is to bring you back to home base so you feel like yourself and you're most aligned and kind of, I consider it, you're able to leverage into your constitution and understand the pitfalls of it and the pros and what makes you you. And so the vata dosha is air and ether. That's its 2 elements. So if you imagine air, wind, movement, those are the primary traits of the vata dosha. And when you have a vata person, this is someone who's thin and wiry, kind of like air and wind, right? They're going to be lighter. They're always up in the air. This is thin and wiry. This is someone who has like small joints or thin wrists, thin ankles. This is someone who might have smaller eyes, longer face. This is someone who has, like air and wind, dry, brittle hair, potentially, dry skin. In terms of their temperament, like wind, think of a ceiling fan. They're always in motion, mind in motion, body in motion. When we hit pandemic, all my Vattas were like, I ran 15 miles today. And I was like, what? The rest of us baked bread and ate. You ran and biked? Oh, okay. You had to move your energy. You had to process that in your way. So Vattas are always in motion. This is your marathon runner, someone who loves endurance and exercise and being in motion. And sometimes we call that a busybody type of personality.
I feel like my wife is that.
Yeah.
I'm going to have her do the quiz.
Okay. Yeah.
See.
Yeah,
she's a runner and she always needs to be in motion.
Yeah. Sometimes it's easy to characterize. When you hear these traits, you're like, oh my gosh, I know this person. And so a Vata person can have tendencies towards insomnia. Why? Because mind is moving 100 miles a minute. Dry skin, brittle nails. They can have anxiety. Again, too much motion and not enough groundedness in the system. They can have constipation, too much dryness in the system. And so when it comes to Vata imbalances, our job is to really help them get centered and grounded and supported, create oiling of the system to undo all that dryness. Then you have a Pitta person. Pitta is fire with some water. Pitta people are all about fire. So Pitta person's usually medium-bodied. They tend to have early graying or reddish hair, reddish skin tone. This is someone who's like red because they're fiery. Their mind is so sharp. They're like almost sharp in a negative way, like so sharp, so passionate, so driven, so ambitious at the expense of everything else in their lives. They tend to have everything on fire. And when imbalanced, they're like a volcano erupting. So it's like explosion. They explode on the people around them. Anger. They get hangry. So they get burnt out. So imagine all the fire words you can think of. Those define a Pitta person. And so Pitta has to be careful of heartburn, overheating, over-stressing, overwhelm, all those things. And so with our Pitta people, we try to cool them down, like a nuclear reactor is how I tell my Pittas to self-manage. And then finally, you have Kapha. Kapha is earth and water energy. This person is grounded. They're usually a bigger, stronger boned person. They have oily hair, oily skin, maybe a round face, round eyes, curly hair at times. This is someone who's very one thing at a time. They're fiercely loyal. They're very talk one thing at a time, do one thing at a time, a little bit slower moving. This is someone who's very mother nature energy. So it's like your grounded mountainous man, or it's your grandma loving, feeding everyone loving energy. So Kapha is like a whole different body type, because this is someone who is fiercely loyal, loves the people around them, just wants to take care of and feed everyone with love, basically. And when they get imbalanced, it's because they've been kind of neglected or not seen. So they get frustrated or they get jealous. Kapha people tend to have a slower metabolism. And so our job as a practitioner is to show them, look, this is your body type. Leverage into the beauty of it. And let's show you how to move that metabolism first thing in the morning and move your energy. Because once a Kapha person sits down for the day, they're done. They do not move again. They can't get off the couch. It's like Mother Nature sat down. And so our job is to really support that teaching of maybe raw food is not right for you based on your gut health. Maybe we need to support you with more cooked food. And so we have a lot of different tools with spices, teas, foods, and lifestyle habits to support each of those constitutions. And then typically the next question is, can you have two? Yes, you can have two. So I'm a Pitta dosha, but my tendency is really Vata. Like my mind wants to go 200 miles a minute and I want to just run around like crazy. And I have to keep grounding into staying balanced. You can have a primary and a secondary. You could be balanced in all three. It's a little more rare. And then you could be one thing right now. Like post-kids, I was very Kapha energy for a couple of years because I was home with the kids and that was my job. And then it took time to balance back into my original constitution.
So your quiz kind of gets at your original?
Yes.
Is that, okay, so I was Pitta also. But as you were describing them, I was like, oh, I see more Kapha. But I think that's that. I have these kind of Kapha tendencies, but also a lot of what you described about Pitta, especially when you're a volcano. You know, I'm not someone who'd yell, but like I would get upset a lot about a lot of things. I was burnt out. Like this is when I wasn't taking care of myself. And, you know, before I discovered lifestyle medicine for myself and then for others, I was very unhealthy, and I was a volcano. I mean, just like that, I was a volcano. So that's fascinating. Huh. Thanks for sharing those. I think, and I have one patient who has developed an interest in Ayurveda.
Nice.
And she told me at a recent appointment that she is balance of all three.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't know what to say to her. She said, I was told that's rare.
Yeah.
Just like you said. But she did some quiz in a book that she was reading about Ayurveda, and that's what came out.
Cool.
All right. And okay, so practically speak, well, a couple questions. One is how you said we were talking beforehand, your husband is a surgeon.
Yep.
Yeah. So he practices in Western allopathic medicine. How do you see the two working together, complementing each other?
Great question. About 10 years ago, I had finished my PhD on turmeric. And I chose turmeric because my whole family history is diabetes that ends really badly. And I thought, there has to be tools out there that we can use. We have to win at inflammation. We have to win at obesity. We have to win at these things. I have to find a way for my family. And turmeric seems too good of a promise. I was like, you guys are telling me turmeric's anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, all these things. And so when I built a turmeric formula about 10 years ago, I built it for Western medicine. And it's been so illuminative because for 10 years now, all I've done is sit across from doctors and say, hey, I have this thing I made. Can we use it? Can we put this into practice? And I would say pre-pandemic, it was a different mindset because medicine was just going so fast. I'm married into a family of all doctors. They have so much going on. Morning clinic, afternoon clinic, surgery, patients, staff, billing. Like it's a lot. It's a very high stress job. Post-pandemic, I think because everyone took a minute and took a beat, there was this opening of, you know what? Every patient is asking me for something natural. So I'm actually more open. And I think we can recommend both ideas. I'm going to recommend what I'm going to recommend, but yes, let's talk about your stuff too, because they're going to ask me for it all day anyways. And so there was this shift. I definitely see that more doctors are open to using supplements, to doing these things. They may not have the time, usually in those appointments, to sit there and give you a whole lifestyle medicine lecture.
Right.
I wish in every Western medicine doctor's office, they could be like, you know what? And here's your health coach. And it's covered by your insurance. And they know my mindset mentality on teaching you lifestyle, exercise, and all the things you need. And they can enable my lifestyle plan for you. Hopefully that's in the future of medicine. I definitely think lifestyle, integrative, and functional medicine are doing the most beautiful job right now at having time with the client and patient, educating the patient, focusing on diagnostic testing that's profound and really illuminates a lot of the problems, and then giving the guidance. But in Western allopathic medicine, part of the problem is there's no time. And then part of the problem is the liability. They have to focus on what they have to focus on. I find they can't go too far outside the lines because it's outside of scope. So, there's a couple of issues there.
Well, I think that's very well said. And I agree with you. I see the commonality between those different branches of medicine. I was thinking about integrative medicine when you were, basically talking about the way that it can integrate into care. Also fascinating. I do agree with you too. The pandemic really shined a spotlight on these kind of diseases and the lifestyle factors and environmental factors that affect our health. And so I think more people are at least aware. I wouldn't say more people are necessarily making the changes because we still see the rates of chronic disease going up. But I think there's more awareness around these things. I also want to just so you did your PhD in turmeric. That's fascinating. I know turmeric is it's such an old medicinal spice in India, but it's also become very trendy. And I know there are different, there's the actual root that you can grate fresh, there's the dried root, and then there's a lot of different supplements. And some of them are just, you'll see they're just maybe curcumin, but not necessarily whole turmeric. Can you talk us through
Yeah.
Like the different forms and how and what you've learned in your research about how it works, how it's absorbed, how we benefit from it.
For sure. My favorite topic.
Ah,
So when it comes to turmeric, you're right. Turmeric has been used in India, in the Middle East, in Europe for thousands of years. It's been beloved and used typically as a coloring agent. They were just dyeing their clothes with it. Chefs were using it to make pastries more yellow. In the US, we use it in mustard. Like that's where we use it the most. And so it's been interesting to watch its evolution. When I go to the Ayurveda conferences, the doctors all are like, yeah, for 20 years, we've been saying turmeric can do everything. No one cared to listen. And now look, it's all about the turmeric lattes. And so it's just funny, like the evolution. So you're right, it is really trendy. But the problem
so that's the best way to intake it is through a turmeric latte.
Definitely not. It's one of the worst because a lot of times we're not using it in the right way. So a lot of people buy raw turmeric and it's like $5 to $10 per pound. They're buying it at the health food store, they're juicing it, or they're using it raw. So I know in most cases in the world, our raw whole plant foods are the best way to take things. Yes, we should eat an apple as opposed to an apple capsule. I totally get that. But when it comes to turmeric, in ancient India, we never really used raw turmeric. We always took that plant and dried it into the spice because it was much more concentrated. And so the spice turmeric's been used for thousands of years in cooking. And when we cooked it, we used it with black pepper, and we always used it with a healthy fat as well. Because anytime you're cooking Indian food, you're going to put in your ghee first, you're going to drop in your cumin seeds, you're going to cook the food and add your spices, and our garam masala spice that we finish with always had the black pepper. So I think it's really beautiful that Indian cooking itself was built with the Ayurvedic wisdom built into it. So a lot of times if I go to integrative doctors, they're like, you already eat the Indian food that has all the spices that are already beneficial. Like we don't really need a big diet change out of you. We just need you to increase protein. Like, okay, good.
Yeah.
Now, when you take that turmeric plant, what people don't realize is they're sprinkling a tiny bit of turmeric powder on their chicken, on their eggs. But out of the entire turmeric plant, only 3% of it is the curcuminoids. And curcuminoids is the most studied piece of turmeric where we know that 3%, 3 to 5% of the plant is the most effective at reducing inflammation. So the majority of why most of us are trying to consume turmeric right now is the anti-inflammatory effects. Now, turmeric has a lot of other effects. Like I said, it's antioxidant. It reverses oxidation in the system. It is antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, anti-H. pylori, anti-candida. It's very supportive of building a healthier gut lining. It has a lot of anti-aging support because it kills off zombie cells that form in our body and damage everything. It helps with cell apoptosis. So all the cells that should die off that aren't dying off fast enough, it goes in there and scavenges and gets rid of those. It's like this ultimate janitor. So it kind of cleans out all the bad, but leaves the good, which I love about it. But if we're going to sit there and consume turmeric sprinkled on our food, we're never going to get that therapeutic dose to get those kinds of results. And so that's why when I was researching all the science and I was like, wow, it works for this, it works for this, it works for this, great. Whose should I take? When I went to the store, everyone's labels said something different. And I was finishing my PhD and I couldn't understand people's labels. And so I got connected to an amazing factory owner and I said, you know what? It would be really interesting if we could build a formula for doctors. Like what if orthopedics could use a solution from turmeric? And he was like, that's really funny. You can't do that with turmeric. And I was like, I just studied this thing enough to tell you I'm very compelled by the science that this is possible. And so we sourced a very potent form of curcumin. When you're using curcumin, you want to make sure you're reaching above the 95% standard. And that's how we drive that potent result. And you can also extract curcumin so you're mimicking the proportion of how nature gave you those 3 curcuminoids. That's kind of getting into the weeds of it. But what I love is when we take curcumin supplements, 500 milligrams twice a day is what the science shows. It's very beneficial for all those things I said. And so I'm just very passionate about using turmeric in the right form. Unfortunately, in health food stores, they're selling us like turmeric shots with orange juice. And I'm like, no. Don't add sugar to take an anti-inflammatory. Like that's not going to make sense.
Yeah. Okay. So that's fascinating. I had this belief, and you're sort of helping me understand it better. Maybe how it wasn't completely right. Is that a lot of studies? There's like Western studies that show mixed results, or whatever. Regardless, studies that show mixed results, but that a lot of times it's the way I had understood it is because they weren't using the whole root. Like they were missing out on some of the curcuminoids or some of the other anti-inflammatory compounds. But maybe it's that the isolated curcumoid that's being used in certain studies is not formulated in the right way, or isn't sort of, can you kind of talk through that?
So what's interesting is when you go into the published science, many years ago when I finished my PhD, there were only 10,000 published studies in PubMed. Now we have 17,000 papers. That just shows you the exponential level of growth of studies. What we know is the curcuminoids affect NF-kappa B, TNF-alpha, interleukin-6, and over 30 different pathways that affect inflammation. Now, when we see those studies that are like, I don't think turmeric's that great, or I think our turmeric's the best, our patented turmeric, and no one else's works, it's just funny because you sit with the studies and you're like, wow, okay, so you took your curcuminoid supplement that you built and then you just gave them regular turmeric and you called that apples to apples. So there's a lot of games I find that are being played in that science that say, oh, well, turmeric's not that effective. And usually it's because they didn't add black pepper or a healthy fat. We know that black pepper increases the absorption 1,000%. I worked in that lab at MD Anderson where the scientists discovered that. And I didn't know when I was in high school that one day I would eventually work with turmeric in this way. And then we know that healthy fat increases its absorption and helps it cross the blood-brain barrier for when we're talking about more brain health issues in the long run. So there's a lot of science. And as you know, there's different agendas. And so it's really about understanding where they're coming from. But a lot of the studies that we have coming out of Asia are saying, look, we can see clearly for joint pain of many different kinds, this is equal in its effect, less side effects. And so that's
to like an anti-inflammatory drug.
Correct.
For example.
That excites me. I'm like, okay, let's get people out of pain naturally. I'm one of those people, I can't take a lot of medicine. When I take a medicine, that side effect will affect me. Like I will have stomach aches and problems. So I'm always looking for the natural alternative. And then I have a healthy opinion of using both when needed as well.
Yeah. And it's fascinating. I mean, you have this thought all the time, how black pepper was a central part of the garam masala, the Indian cooking. Like it's almost like it was engineered that way, but they didn't know this absorption. I mean, they kind of intuitively knew it, but they didn't know. There's a lot of things I feel like they intuitively knew. I'm curious about that. Can you think back to what it would have been like 5,000 years ago? What was how did they look at sort of, like we have a scientific method now and like the way that drugs are developed and discovered and developed and trialed, and how was it then? I'm curious, like, was it trial and error or was it some knowing of like intuition that?
It's interesting. I have a Hay House book coming out very soon. And in my book, I write all about Ayurveda and inflammation. So I did dig deeper into the history. And I actually have the ancient texts like right here behind me, the yellow books. And on the weekends, I'll read through them. And I'm always like, how did they know all this?
Yeah.
So Ayurveda is one of the Vedas. It's one of the original sacred texts out of India. And these sacred texts were given to people. So it was downloaded information. And I think just like in most cultures, a lot of times it starts in the religious group first, where they're like, hey, just so you know, I think the Muslim culture, they say, don't eat pig, like don't eat pork, because it was dirty at that time. And so I think in the same way now, when we look back at India and this lifestyle that was taught, this preventive lifestyle, they somehow, like you said, intuitively knew and passed that wisdom down. And I do think part of it is you had what you called Vedyas. You had the wise old man in the village who knew something intuitively about the plants. And through trial and error and using the plants around them, they figured out, hey, this turmeric, you rub it on the knee hurts less. All right, cool, that works for that. Or, oh, you give this person cinnamon and their blood sugar isn't as crazy. Okay. And so I think it was eons of trial and error. And then you talk about India, a country with 1 billion people in it. And here we've got a lot of clients that we've worked on over 5,000 years who now we know, okay, turmeric does this, ashwagandha does that. So we can kind of use the super spices toolkit now in a much more targeted way because we have so much data.
Yeah. That's, cool. That's really interesting. it's a good reminder too for me and for a message for our audience that it's one of the Vedas. It's one of the holy religious scriptures, but it's this sort of healing and medical branch, I guess, of the religion in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it's the science of life. That's what Ayurveda means. And Ayurveda is a sister science to yoga. And so when we talk about yoga, we think of just doing positions and then we feel really peaceful at the end. But really, yoga is a spiritual practice of helping us evolve and transcend and work through all our stuff. And so Ayurveda is kind of the way to take that yogic philosophy off the mat and into your kitchen and into your life, to hold that balance and that peace and that vibrancy in every other aspect of your life.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up yoga. I was like going to ask. Actually, I was like thinking to ask, and this yoga makes me think about it all the time, about cultural appropriation and just your thoughts on it versus cultural respect. Like I think there is a difference, and I'm curious because you now are seeing all these things come up in popular culture, and what is your view on that?
You know, I'm an Indian who was born in America. So I'm a Texan and an American, and I'm also Indian and love and respect my culture and my heritage. So it's always been interesting to walk that line. I went to really Christian schools, and I remember kids saying certain things to me, and I always thought, gosh, you see the world differently. I'm raised going to Sunday school in my religious, it was like basically Buddhist philosophy, and you're learning it differently. You know, I actually believe that it's okay for everyone to adopt everything as long as we understand where it came from. So use yoga, evolve yoga, however we're meant to continue it. But remember that it came from India, or remember where the roots of it came from. And so it's interesting, I did yoga teacher training in 2020, and I remember my teacher felt bad for saying the Sanskrit words in her way. And I said, no, thank you for teaching them. It's all good. You're saying it in your way. I'm sure you've honored and respected yoga because of how you teach it. It's all good. Now, do I want to see Ganesh on the bottom of flip-flops? No. So there is a line for me where if you're going to take things and use them in a way that's disrespectful to how we believe they should be respected, that's a God, then yeah, I've got some issues with that. But I would rather we take the ancient wisdom and we modernize it and use it than not. I do wish more people would give credit to Ayurveda, because that's why I always say circadian clock came from Ayurveda, tongue scraping, oil pulling, these are from Ayurveda. And so as lifestyle medicine and functional medicine grows, they're sharing all this wisdom. They've been pulling from it for a while, from what I've seen. But just give Ayurveda some credit. Otherwise, no one will know the vast beauty that Ayurveda has to offer, because you're just cherry picking like 5 things out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fascinating. I'm curious just if there's like a good reference on Ayurveda you'd recommend, like either for our listeners or even someone like me who wants, it sounds like you have a book coming. Is that all about Ayurveda or?
Yeah, my book is called The Inflammation Code, and it's coming out February 3rd, 2026, and it'll be out there in the world. And it is all about this. If in the meantime, you're like, I got to learn Ayurveda right now. The father of Ayurveda in the United States is Dr. Lad. And so many of us have studied him. L-A-D is his last name. He built the Ayurvedic Institute. He has these great books that are like short and sweet, but really impactful and deep. And so that's also a great place to start. He has an online channel to teach Ayurveda. And so I always love sharing his book as well.
What are some, okay, that's a good, Dr. Lad, L-O-D.
L-A-D.
L-A-D, L-A-D. Like, looks like lad, but
yes.
Flawed. That's like me. It's rock, but it's spelled R-A-K. So what do you feel like most people are, what are some common misconceptions people have about Ayurveda?
I think a lot of people think that Ayurveda is so ancient, it doesn't apply to the here and now, when in fact, it's almost like we're doing a full circle back towards ancient medicine in this moment. And we're saying, hey, actually, we went so modern, and we went so far in one direction. And this is happening in India right now. Yeah. Right in pandemic, India was like, you know what? Maybe we got to bring those Ayurvedic hospitals back. We got to bring homeopathic, naturopathic back. We got to bring all our remedies back. We got to eat organic. We have to eat off the land. We have to eat plant-based. Like the circle back into what's good has been a fascinating boomerang that's happening. You can see it with the organic food movement. You can see it with regenerative farming. Everyone going to farmers markets. Online, everyone I know is buying their eggs directly from the farmers. Like this is the movement back towards Ayurveda, what Ayurveda always said. Ayurveda said, live in nature, source local, like know your farmer. That's how you're going to get real food that has real life force in it. So I definitely see this movement towards living a better, healthier, whole life. And that's Ayurveda's goal for all of us anyway.
Oh, makes sense. Okay, well, what are some, like, if someone's listening, or even for me, like, what are some ways I can start incorporating some Ayurvedic practices in my life? Like, are there simple practices that someone might try?
For sure. So we believe in honoring sleep like it's your number one health habit. And I always tell everyone, look, sleep is the easiest one to do. You just have to sleep well, but don't assume that your sleep is good. So I oftentimes ask my clients, put a sleep measuring tool on, whether it's like the Oura Ring, your Apple Watch, something. Fitbit even will measure your sleep, and make sure your sleep is good. If we start there, Ayurveda taught us that on the circadian clock, 10 to 2 on the top of the clock, that's our most important time to get high quality deep sleep, to reduce inflammation, to clear the lymphatic system. One interesting fact is we collect up to 3 pounds of lymphatic waste in our brain throughout the year if we don't sleep in that window, if we're not cleaning and clearing. And so it's interesting because when you look at sleep statistics, Fitbit published that the average American sleeps at 11:02 p.m. And I remember when I saw that thinking, oh my gosh, that means half the country is sleeping at like 12:02. That's insane. That's so bad. You gave up half that window. Now I know, and I'm one of those people, we have a lot going on. But if most nights you can say, okay, it's 9 o'clock, I'm going to enter into my sleep hygiene rituals. I'm going to drink some delicious tea. I'm going to indicate to my body that we're going to bed on time at 10. Doesn't have to be perfect, but most nights you're going to gift yourself detox. 10 to 2 is your detox time. It's when Pitta is actually highest in the sky. So that fire energy can either be used to clean and clear the body, clear inflammation, or if you stay up, a lot of times if I stay up past 11, I can't sleep because the fire went right into your brain and turned you into a night owl. You got that creative juice and energy force to work now and stay up. And so that's really the first thing I love to teach out of Ayurveda is if we can just honor sleep windows, all of a sudden we're supporting the detox. And that's the cheapest, easiest one we can do, honestly. And so it's just bringing that habit of sleep close towards 10.
It resonates with me, the being a Pitta, and like for years I stayed up late. I love staying up late because of exactly what you said. I would get this like wave of energy.
Right.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah, if I look at my phone and it says 11:11, I'm like, Shivani, go to bed. This thing is going to go the other way any minute. And you know you'll be up till 1 because you won't be able to sleep. The fire will just come into my brain. I'll be like messaging my team on WhatsApp and email, and it'll just go in that direction. So night owls, my message to you is, Ayurveda says, move the fire within and use it for detoxing. Because if you clear the brain, it'll work better the next day. You can have a productive day every day if you gift yourself that. Then another big tip we teach out of Ayurveda is tongue scraping. We would love for everybody who can to gently scrape the tongue 7 to 14 times because we teach that all our organs are reflected on the tongue. Just like in reflexology, they're reflected on the bottom of your feet. And so just like in reflexology, if you press someone, you could induce labor if you press the right points. We want you to gently scrape the tongue to gently massage all the organs of the body and clear ama out of the body. And I've cured people's constipation with tongue scraping, which I thought was crazy. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't expect that level of result. But a lot of people now share with me they tongue scrape every day. They think of me. They make sure they don't have a white film on their tongue, which really shows you that you have a toxic burden going on in the system. And their mouth feels fresher. Like they can't go a day now without scraping their tongue, which I think is awesome. And so those are 2 easy, simple habits from Ayurveda that we can start with. My third would always be leverage and use turmeric. It's a very powerful tool in your toolkit. And then I have a lot of others as well.
Yeah, with the tongue scraping, like I have a tongue scraper. My mother-in-law bought like our entire family tongue scrapers, my kids, everyone. I don't do it every day. I do it most days, and it I don't know why I don't do it every day. I just to think to do it. Like when I have to put it, I mean, it's right next to my toothbrush. You just hasn't become a habit, but I think it will because, I mean, in addition to feeling good and whatnot, like I don't know if I have done it consistently enough to notice feeling different, but is that something someone could expect? Like if they start tongue scraping tomorrow and then like in a couple weeks, maybe their energy levels will be improved, or what kinds of, you said someone's constipation got better.
Yeah, because we teach that it ignites the digestive fire. It's going to move toxins out of the system. For some, it might be too subtle. For me, honestly, I don't feel it. But I do know that when I walk up to a detox and I go to detox, my body's like, I'm already great. Like we've been doing this every day forever. There's nothing more to detox, just had to clear some inflammation out. Gut had a little bit of buildup. So my system is easier to detox now. For others, it has helped a lot with constipation, or it helps with oral hygiene. Like we know oral microbiome is tied to gut microbiome. So we want the oral microbiome as healthy, functional. We want those taste buds to be cleared so you can really taste your food and know what you're eating to signal to the gut what's coming. So yeah, you could feel more energy over time because it is going to detox the system.
Okay. One thing I'm curious about, does Ayurveda talk about like mental health? I mean, I'm sure it does, but like in what way does Ayurveda talk about mental health, and how might we practically apply that?
So when it comes to anxiety, depression, a lot of these different mental health issues that people struggle with, Ayurveda's first belief is look at the gut. Look, let's really look at the gut. Gut is brain. Gut-brain axis is how we call it now in modern day times. Ayurveda always said gut is brain, gut is mood. And so really looking at where is someone's gut digestive fire. Do they have a strong, robust fire? Or do they have really dull and weak digestion? So really we would treat digestion and gut first and say, where are you at? What's interesting is in modern day times, almost all of us have some level of gut dysbiosis. And so isn't it interesting that we also have, prevalence of mental health struggles that we're dealing with? But we also have a profound toolkit of herbs and spices. And so in Ayurveda, we talk oftentimes about adaptogens. And so even ashwagandha, it's pronounced ashwagandha for us, but in the general American sense, we call it ashwagandha here. Ashwagandha is a powerful adaptogen. If you're anxious and stressed, it calms you down a few notches. If you're depressed and feeling the blues, it lifts you up. It functions like this beautiful thermostat in the system. And so sometimes it's about really customizing an adaptogenic blend for people to get support. I also think of those herbs as great stress resilience. So many of us are dealing with stressful times. And when I just reach for the adaptogens fast to protect my body against the stressors of modern day life. And we know that ashwagandha, there's a study that's been published that says it's as effective as 14 psychoactive drugs. So there is a role for therapeutic use of adaptogenic supplements in the body. But Ayurveda definitely said, lifestyle is everything. Move with you, like balance your dosha, heal the gut, eat well, eat foods that are alive and fresh and give you vitality, detox the system of any sluggishness or anything that's really complicating and congesting the body. That can affect mental health. And then we can look at, okay, what's next? Like what else has to shift in the person for body, mind, and spirit to come back into alignment?
Fascinating. And one question, this is like, I probably should have asked it earlier, but it's always, tell me about onion and garlic, because I cook with a lot of onion and garlic. Am I harming myself with every meal I'm eating, or?
Great question. I'm from North India. We love our onion. We love our garlic. We love our chili. Like I eat everything over spiced, over hot with hot sauce on top. Everyone in my office is always like, oh, we have to keep Cholula and all hot sauces on hand for Shivani, like black pepper, red pepper, and hot sauce. So it's interesting, the onion garlic thing, right? Because we have certain elders in the Indian families who say, no, I don't touch onion and garlic. Those are like dirty because they grew in the ground. And I'm always like, they're the best ones. So what are you talking about? The part of the reasoning is that in Ayurveda, we teach something called rajasic, tamasic, and how foods can be rajasic, which means like aggravating to the system. They increase heat, they increase volatility in the system. So if you want to be a more calm Zen person, you would eat less onions and garlic. When we talk about tamasic foods, those are foods that cause dullness. So in Ayurveda, we do teach a lot about not eating food past a day old. We would never microwave our food, and we would never like take leftovers home and eat them 4 or 5 days later. Those are dull, dead foods. And so really eating fresh food is a huge focus out of Ayurveda. And so that's where that comes from. The onion garlic thing is thought to make you agitated and angry and thus unable to be a spiritual, calm person.
Well, maybe I'll have to experiment with that.
As
That's
a Pitta,
fascinating.
we have a tendency to do everything bad for us. We're not supposed to eat hot, fried, oily foods. They're spicy.
Oh my God,
And
forget
as a
about it.
Pitta, I'm always like, give me the nachos. I would love French fries. And I always look at them and I'm like,
Nachos with like extra jalapenos and
Yes.
with the seeds in them. And yeah, I know.
I'm from Texas. Like, I'll take it hot. And then I laugh and I'm like, okay, you may do this, but then it's electrolyte water. Like, let's balance the thing we're gonna do.
Right. Oh, funny. Okay, well, I ask all our guests a final question, which is you're coming to our proverbial health feast with lots of people, and you're going to share your mindset tip or life philosophy that you kind of personally live by. And what is Dr. Shivani bringing to the health feast?
Oh, I bring that we are completely sovereign in our health journeys, and we have the ultimate power to change the trajectory of our health each and every day. And that just comes by making each choice of self-care, each choice of self-love, and each choice of bringing in the Ayurvedic self-care rituals.
Beautiful. Wow. That's powerful. Yeah. And I 100% am there with you. Dr. Shivani, if people want to learn more about you, and I know you also have supplements you sell, where can they go, and tell us a little bit more about that?
For sure. So my website is drshivani.com, Shivani, and I'm at dr.shivanigupta on Instagram. My Ayurvedic supplement company is called Fusionary Formulas, Fusionary. And I have a special code I keep for all the audiences out there. Health equals 15% off. If they want to try Fusionary, try the turmeric. And people are always welcome to reach out. I'm always there to answer questions about what the formulas do and how they can help.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Well, this was enlightening and so fun. I learned so much, and now I don't feel like as much of a wise idiot. Maybe now like a somewhat smart average person who knows something about Ayurveda. And I'm curious to dig in more. I'll echo it again. I see so much overlap in like everything I do and practice. Like it's just taken Western medicine 5,000 years to catch up to what these ancients knew so many years ago. So thank you for sharing all that, your story, your wisdom. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay, we will see you here next time. Please like and subscribe and share the episode. That's how you can support the podcast. Remember, this is not professional medical advice. Please talk to your healthcare provider if you are considering any changes to your lifestyle or considering taking any supplements. And we will see you back here next time. Until then, live well and rock on. And Dr. Shivani, we do a fist bump.
Bump.
The camera.
No.
All right. So good to see you. Take care, everyone.